Hey there, folks. How's it going? JovanHuttonPulitzer here. Tonight, we're going to talk about data, Big Brother. Is Big Brother creeping on your phones, right? Do you think Big Brother's, should we say, eavesdropping on all the things that you have going on in your life? Some people, I see some people literally nowadays are having a very serious time trying to figure out what's really real and what's not real when it comes to the world of data tracking and data technology. And here's where I'll go with it. I posted a video last week, right? I posted a video and I talked about when it came to the COVID epidemic, right? I talked about how trace and track works. Actually, I posted a video on it, and I'm going to show you that video in a minute. And that's what generated this discussion, because people don't know all the facts. And Danny Holloway, oh man, National Lampoon's Vacation was on, but you are more important. Well, I appreciate that. Hopefully I deliver a good information this evening. But this is what we're talking about. Is big business, big data, the government, your mobile phone, is it really creeping on you? Is it storing your data? Is it doing things with your data that you don't want it to do or to know? Hey, Bonnie, how you doing? Nice to see you too. And I will share with this so you understand, right? In fact, give me a shout out, folks. Let me know where you are. And I tell you, by the end of this broadcast, I am going to show you some things that most likely will weird you out, but I'm going to give you a peek behind technology to show you how it works, to explain to you how it works, and explain to most every one of you. You've probably already given up most of your data rights, and you have no idea, truly no idea, just how far it goes and what's being done with your data. And that's why I want to separate some of the fact from the fiction, right, of data harvesting, data tracking, right, and what could be going on without you even knowing what is being taken from you. And in fact, what most people don't know, at any one time, there's probably, whether you're an Android or iOS user, there's probably 1,000 apps out there that in one way or another, specifically in a bad way, take data from your phone that you have no idea what's going on. You have no idea that they're taking it from you. Hey, Bill Kelly, how you doing? And, it's just the way it is now. It's just the way it is now. So let's start with a peek. Let me get rid of a banner here real quick. I need to hide this. I'm going to go and I'm going to share my screen. I think I've got to turn up my video because I actually think you hear video or hear the audio through my screen that I play it when I play it back to you. I'm going to show you the video that I posted that spawned this conversation, and it's because I happen to be the fellow that patented and figured out how can you do epidemic tracking on the mobile phone. That's where we're going to end up by the time this goes. I'm going to end up from here's the dark side, here's what really goes on, here's what you've probably already done, and here's the good side of it. And it's just like anything else in life. You have to decide whether you walk in the light or you walk in the darkness. But I posted this video, And I was amazed at the comments. I knew it would generate comments, but I really wanted to get people's impression of this and what they felt like it meant to them. So I'm going to replay this video for you. So let me get to my share screen, and let's see. Here we go. Get ready. I'm gonna play this video for you. This is the video that I posted on my wall that generated all the comments, and that's why we're doing this broadcast tonight. So I'll kind of stop there and let's kind of go back, and I'm going to help you understand what it means when there's track and trace going on. And what brought this up is I basically know that this is a very, very, very sensitive subject. I'm very sensitive to this as well, right? Very sensitive to this as well. Hey, Victoria, how you doing? 3 in the morning there. Well, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. And Pierrette said, I don't have a cell phone, so no one's tracking me or collecting information on me. That's one way to do it. Now, I can also tell you, you can make your devices, your computers, your phone, and everything else, you can make it not track you. But that's going to be the topic of this discussion. So let's kind of hop right into it. And one of the things I'm going to show you is I'm going to reach out and I'm going to show you a program, a connectivity piece that most people, unless you're in this industry, you never get to see how everything's connected and how it's visualized. But let's talk about this. You obviously understand track and trace can be, or it should be trace and track, can be very beneficial. Let's talk about how it can be very beneficial. It can be beneficial in a missing persons case. It can be beneficial in a child abduction case. Those of you that know me know my own sister was snatched in the 3rd grade. And so I can only imagine, even with technology, what could have been done then to get a different outcome, or that could have been done with the technology that we have in our hands today. When it comes to an epidemic, and when it comes to this COVID pandemic and everything else, the phone can play an incredible role in making sure the world is safe. The mobile phone can play an incredible role if you have an elderly parent that has dementia, is forgetting things and gets out and gets lost. So the phone, that phone that we carry in our pocket, that incredible computer, right? That incredible computer that is in our pocket is one of the most phenomenal phenomenal things that we have, because there's so much that we could do with it. Now there's the opposite side of it. The opposite side of it is that it can be hijacked, right? People can take your ID, people can take your emails, people can hack into what you do and take over your identity. You have to be welcome for that. But yeah, oh, thank you for the art. This is all family behind me. If you were to see my whole office, it's all the way down, up and behind me, the whole bit. It's all historic art of my family. But I want to dispel the myths behind your phone and what it can and it can't do. And let's start out with some of the apps first. Now, do you remember when Face App came out? And that was the app that all the celebrities were using and everybody was doing, and you take a picture of yourself, right? And then all of a sudden it will age you 50 years, and you look at yourself 50 years, 70 years, 80 years in the future. That app was known to have security problems. I did it myself before I found out. But let's think of what you're doing. Some of the things you use have permission sets in them. How many times have you actually read the EULA of anything you've downloaded or anything you've installed? What's a EULA? ULA? User licensing agreement. Hey, Rick, how you doing? User licensing agreement. How many of you have actually read what you installed? I mean, tell the truth. If you've actually read it, I'd like to know. I'm in the industry. I don't even read the crap. I mean, it's because in our busy lifestyles, boom, 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 we just accept it and we go. Now, the reason I don't read it is I know how to shut all those back doors off and do, but the average consumer or user will never know how to do those, and we'll just click OK, I accept. When you click OK, I accept, you're not saying, oh, I want to use your app. If you look at it, it is basically saying all the rules and regulations that they do, right? That particular Russian app said and think about how many celebrities, it just went overnight. I think there were 20 million downloads and installs, people using it, all these famous people doing it. People that live by their faces as their trademark, right? By their faces as their trademark. Yet you see famous people like Kevin Hart, if you wanted to put him in something, you're going to drop 20 million bucks. But he took the photo, aged himself. If you would have read the EULA, user license agreement, when he clicked to it, it said that that company, once you install it, once you use it, that image that's created forever becomes theirs, and they could use it any way they want, and you have no repercussions, and you're totally signing it away. Now think about all of the Hollywood people that did that app, aging themselves to see what they would look like. You know, we had Kevin Hart and Terry Crews and all these very famous people doing it. That company could turn around, build an advertising campaign, right? Totally build an advertising campaign showing all those celebrities, right? All those celebrities using it. And what would happen is those celebrities who get paid tens of millions of dollars for their appearances and endorsements, they don't even have to say, I use this product, they just have to be seen, would have zero recourse. And the reason they'd have zero recourse is because they agreed, oh, I give you that right, because they want it on a phone. So that is happening every single time you use an app on your phone. You are giving away certain permission sets. So let me share my screen again. I'm going to show you how pervasive this is and why you have to make sure that you check these things. This is a fairly recent report, about a year old. And there are basically, in this particular report, there are more than 1,000 Android apps that harvest data even after, now pay attention to it here, it says, even after, okay, you install the app. If you read the headline, even after you install it and turn off your permission sets, or say, I don't agree, or whatever, certain things, they still continue to harvest your information. Now, what does harvest your information mean? It means that it could be anything in your phone, from allowing it to look at your photos, allowing it to turn on your microphones, even allowing it to look at your emails and or your other passwords, which is in fact installed on your phone. This particular study looked at 88,000 apps, and there were 1,335 in there, right? 1,325 in there that violated those terms. Here's an interesting one, Shutterfly. Most of you know that photo editing app, that it actually gathers the GPS coordinates from the phones and photos that you're sending, even when you literally tell them, no, you cannot have that data. Now, let me explain. This, right? Here's what it means. Let's say Bill Kelly. Bill Kelly's here, right? He's my buddy. I can use this. So let's say Bill and I are out of town. You've seen several postings of Bill and I having great dinners and a few too many drinks and hanging out, right? Unfortunately, Bill told me, I guess it was last week, that our Ruth's Chris Steakhouse that we went to and had great steaks, literally, rioters burned it down. But nonetheless, let's say you're out with a group of guys or a group of mixed company or whatever, you're on a business trip, and somebody says, hey, let's go to a strip club. Doesn't mean you're going to do anything bad, but you're just going to go, look at the decorations, right? And you take your little phone because you're not driving, and somebody says, look up where our closest one is. And you basically look up your phone and says, I want to know where the nearest booby bar is. And you type it in, or you say, hey, Google, show me boobies, or whatever it is, right? And boop, it pops up on your phone because you're just checking out for everybody to see where the place is. Now, complication number one. Complication number one is, what if that phone was issued to you by your employer? Now, technically, the employer's permission sets, if you have a company issued phone. Yeah, Bill, it's not really what you and I did, and I'm not going to get a lot into, duct tape hamsters and Richard Gere. I'm not going to tell anybody about that, but just bear with me, buddy. Anyway, and so if your company gives you your mobile phone and they install a company piece of software on there, it can actually prevent certain things from being turned off. So technically, in this fictitious scenario where Bill and I and a bunch of people were going to go to a pole dancing club, that search information could be logged on your company server and stored with your company, meaning both the security professionals in the company and or your webmasters can actually see that. Now, Jill says, you would never dream of a booby bar, would I? No, I never would. And frankly, if I did, it would only be for statistical research, so I could teach people about what was going on with that. And so you have to understand that information's in there. Next thing, let's say that you got a family phone, you got a family plan. Did you know all that Google data can be stored on there and can be retraced? Everywhere you can go can actually be retraced. Every search you search for can be retraced. If you don't even know how to clear your computer, And most people don't. Did you know everything you looked at since the time your computer first turned on, everything is stored there for people to see? Is stored there for you to see if you don't know how to clear it out. Let me tell you how this works. Have you ever been on your phone and let's say you're at a lunch break of the company and you decide to look up a book or you decide to look for a vacation or whatever, and you just kind of look it up. And then damned if you don't get home, right? And you get on your computer. And in your computer, when you pull up your browser and you're logging into Facebook to see all of us, all of a sudden, here's the same trip, pops up and goes, hey, we've got a special on this trip. And you think, how does it know, right? Well, it's because all of these things are now linked. Depending on the year, make, and model of your car is synced in, your phone is synced in, desktop, I'm on a desktop right here. Here's my phone, I'm on a desktop here. My desktop is synced in. If you use Netflix, Amazon, any of those to deliver video content to your television system, if you use your mobile phone to manage your cable box or your cable accounts or anything like that, all of these things are synced together. So here's where I'm going to give you I'm going to show you something that truly will kind of freak you out. But I'm going to show you how this works, and I'm going to show you how even if Jill says she knew that would be my answer, it was for research. You know why you know that, Jill, is because you went with me and we just had a hell of a time in Vegas. No. Research. You know, although Charles would go for the booze. Bill routed us out and said we've been to the best of them. Anyway, I'm going to show you, right? I'm going to show you how this works. And so while we've been sitting here, let me show you something. First off, let me get it popped up. Okay, hang on. Get ready. I'm going to show you how this works. Okay, screen share. Okay, here you go. Pay attention. This is going to be an interesting ride. Here we go. Okay. This is a data visualization that you see going on. This is actually real-time data of the apps that are interconnected amongst you, the very users, at any one time, okay? And this is called the haystack. It's called panopticon, and basically what you're looking at a universe of users here, okay? Now you can't see the ticking over in my screen on the right because it's so small over here, but let's look at, we're looking right here. I'm on a particular, let me go back, dang it. So Kick, which is a free app that has anywhere between 100,000 and 100 million and 500 million installs. It has 3 cross-embedded trackers in it. So I'm gonna click on it. Now you're gonna see the visualization, boom. Okay, when you're using this particular app, even though you have not given it permission for these things, it has other cross connections into Crashalytics, Mixpanel, and Flurry. Now, not that you really need to know who those are, okay, by any stretch. Let's go back. But I'm going to show you some of these other ones. Let's see. If you had the free podcast player that you were using, and it's called Podcast Player, which you can get. You can go into iStore and get it. And it's got 2 trackers in it. It's got 1 million to 5 million installs. Its backwards hooks are into Mixpanel and Crashalytics. The entire universe is connected this way. The entire universe, okay? If you used Door, now here it is, seems rather innocuous, Door Mint Laundry Service app. A Door Mint Laundry Service app. That service app connects and does code tracking for Facebook and Crashlytics. You don't know that, but this is how the entire universe in this world works. And that's why all of us in the business actually have more data than you can imagine. Kung Fu Panda, Battle of Destiny. Kung Fu Panda is one of the higher ones. You know, it has anywhere between 1 million and 5 million installs, but it has 7 data trackers in it. Online Matrix, Urban Airship, Capjoy Ads, Nanigans, Mixpanel, and Chart Boost. This is why apps in the world of apps can actually be free, because so many companies want the data that they will pay to piggyback. Okay, they will pay to piggyback on it. And when you do these, when you get piggybacks on these things, what you're doing is you're getting back-end access to it. Like, hey, you're in a bad area, you want to basically boost your signal, so you went and you downloaded Signal Booster for 3G and 5G. Well, here you go. This is actually what's going on behind it. These are the companies that have partnered with that company, and as long as they can suck out the data and you can sell that data back to them, that you can actually make money with your app, even though you are not technically, hang on, I'm going to show you a popular one. Oh, where'd it go? Dang it. Technically, using those other people's apps. I want to show you one, a bigger one. Hang on. Dang it, I just had it here. It's kind of hard finding them in this big network of what everyone is doing, but I wanted to show you. Hang on. Dang it. Okay, well, if I don't get right on them when I click on them, this is HelloFresh. Oh, I lost it. If you were on Grindr Gay Chat, right? If that's your preference, no big deal. But if you were on Grindr, which is, I think, like Tinder, right? Isn't that where Grindr comes from? It says Gay Chat, Meet and Date. It's got 5 million to 10 million installs, 7 data trackers embedded in it. And here's all the people getting that data back out of it. This is the world we live in today, is because everything is connected. Your phone at any one time, whether you know it or not, is sending out pinging signals. That's the easiest way to describe it. And as it's pinging, it is looking for other phones. Depending upon, let's say you turn off your GPS. Don't want to be tracked that way. A phone in close proximity to you that's able to ping and ping your phone can actually use its GPS, know how close it is to you, to actually make that data realized for your phone, even if you don't have it on. Now, what you need to know is the data game ended, and when I mean ended with iPhone. That means once Google got Android into its hopper and Microsoft, I mean not Microsoft, but Apple came out with the Apple phone and stuff, at that point in time, the world changed. It does not matter any longer if you don't want to give up your data. Doesn't matter. It's given up anyway. I know that sounds horrible, right? I know that sounds incredibly horrible. But the reality is, data's over. Even our refrigerators, our ovens, and now they got the big makeup mirrors for the bathrooms, and your workout riders and everything else that are connected. All of these devices continually are pinging and talking to each other. And now in this world, that's part of what the Project Haystack is. In this world, for the last few years, the big rush has been to make all that data make sense. Remember the little haystack shoestring French fries, right? The little bitty, skinny, crunchy French fry looking things. It's not a chip, not a fry. It's a little crunchy haystack. Remember those things? Tastes really good. Shoestring potatoes, I guess we call them. If you were to dump them out and pile them up, they look like just a crisscross match. That is what the IoT used to be. IoT means the Internet of Things. What is the Internet of Things? Anything that can talk to a remote database or give you information or ping information to your phone or be realized on your phone or your computer. You can see it, your Ring doorbell, any of them. The world is now connected that way, and it's only going to become more and more and more and more and more. Your car keys are now connected to your car this way. Many of the newer cars can actually be turned off and disabled, even if you're driving it, even without your approval. It's done, it's gone, it's over. Period. Now, the question is whether you, as a company, ethically, what do you do with this information and how do you use this information? And it's just like anything else. It's how do you use the power of what you can do for good? How do you use the power for what you have to do for bad? Even I'm real in tune with this stuff. It wasn't over a month ago, just at a damn car wash, at a gas station, at a car wash. You know, anytime you use those little readers, right, car wash or gas pump, I always grab the reader handle and you got to twist it counterclockwise and pop it and see if it comes off. Those are the phony readers they have on them. Even I got stuck by one of those readers recently, right? And I pulled all over. I guess they got a better connector on it and pop it off. You know, you literally, anytime you put your credit card into that thing, you should be grabbing that little black or gray reader and you should be giving it a counterclockwise tug back and forth. It comes right off. That was the device there to steal your information. It's just a collector device in between, looking at, okay, here's your card number, here's the validation, here's your PIN, put in, it stores it, they come retrieve it, and they've got card after card after card, and they'll ding them 50, 60, 70, 80 bucks, boom, 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 and they're in and out, and they've taken hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars across the country in a crime spree like that. That is where our world is today, and it's also where you have to understand the power now that's in your hands. You only have one option. And your one option is to decide how, right, how you teach yourself to deal with this. And Danny, you're right. This is a huge, huge, huge can of worms. First thing I'm going to discuss is when you saw my video, my work in epidemic and pandemic tracking. I want to explain that to you so you understand what that is. And then I want to explain to you what you can do and the things you should look out for. So first, let's just get, Jill. Jill says, pay cash, you're right. In 7 years, maybe 8, there will be no more cash. We're that close to the cusp that not only will there not even be cash, even the cash that's out there and stored, that stashed will be rendered useless. This is where everything's headed. You've got the biggest move was made by China that's, believe it or not, coming out with a digital cash. They're replacing all their currency now. Now, it's easier for them because they control every one of their citizens. You have no choice, but that will have a domino effect around the world. But first, let's talk about this. Now, in my world of working with all of these doctors and companies and partnerships we have and military suppliers and everything we've put together to try to help local, city, state, and federal government deal with this COVID crisis is, by the way, isn't it weird how everybody says you can get out and protest, that's totally fine, and you're not going to be susceptible, but then they turn around and says, but if you go to work and get people together, you're going to be spreading it, and that's a no-no. So we are definitely in a conflicted time. But let's talk about this device. And let's talk about it in terms of COVID. When COVID happened, if my technology was in the mobile phone at that time, used as it's been designed to use, and you're already doing telemedicine, you're seeing your doctor this way, right? You don't have to go to the doctor for cold or flu or whatever. You just see them and you get your prescriptions. Let's say that was already in effect, okay? By putting that on the phone and having it on the phone, when COVID hit and we first understood COVID and that it was an epidemic about to become a pandemic, we would have been able to take all of the first people that came in and we would have been able to look at their phones and basically do a trace and track and see everywhere they've been, reaching back in time as far as 60 days. And all it would show is but it's just a bunch of numbers, like the matrix, right? Seeing the matrix, and you're seeing all these numbers. But in that data and that confusion, that haystack of data, we would have been able to see where that physical person went. And let's say they went to a grocery store, and they went to a grocery store, okay? And we would be able to see every cell phone that was in proximity to this mobile device that came close enough, and let's just call it 3 feet. So if you were within 3 feet and 3 minutes, that means you hovered close enough and long enough to possibly transfer the infection. We would be able to reach out to your phone, not knowing who you are, not knowing anything about you. We would have been able to remotely ping your phone, and a text would pop up that would say, it would come from the government, and it would say, you have been in immediate close contact to somebody who's was in the active infection of COVID, and we suggest that you call this hotline and let's get you tested and just make sure you're safe. Now, number one, most people would naturally agree to that. And let me tell you why and the power of what you can do with this. So part of my work is having dialogue with GCH3, the CDC in Atlanta. One of the cities that we're very involved in is, working in Atlanta, getting Atlanta triaged. And so we took a very hard look at Cobb County. Now, Cobb County has approximately 785,000 citizens living in Cobb County. Under the correct program, combined with testing for COVID, what a system like this has the ability to do, if we tested everybody in Cobb County, right? The first effect is get everybody tested and make sure you don't have COVID, number one, because if you learn you don't have COVID, you tend to play it even more safe now that you know you're clear. Everybody that has COVID, you triage them. But here's the net effect of technology. If we were able to do everybody that way, then what happens is every phone has a location for a person. So imagine if you were looking at a Google map, and we have a green dot for everybody that tested negative. We have a red dot for everybody that tested positive. We have a yellow dot that's for everybody that we haven't tested yet, right? Or an empty dot or a yellow dot, symptomatic. What we would be able to see when an epidemic broke out and we did quick testing or triage or even symptom checking, you would have a whole county light up and we would start seeing things like little red clusters. Now imagine we're looking at a street, and probably Atlanta's not a good one because every damn street's named Peachtree or something, but we're looking at a street and all of a sudden you see this red line. You just see dot, 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 dot going down this line. With the right use of technology, what we're able to see is, here you go, see this street, see this neighborhood? This is where it's really active. This is where most of the infections are coming from. And this is where it radiates out like spokes. So instead of shutting down entire cities, shutting down entire states, instead of literally kicking our own financial ass by locking everything down, we would have literally looked at it as technology from a heat map and go, here it is, shut these streets down. Give it a parameter this big, shut these streets down, let's go in and triage. With a phone, we would have seen it, which testing at the airport, when somebody got off a plane combined with testing and mapping it, we would know where the infection came from, boom, because we got a city they're coming into. We would also see it, and you start to see how disease spreads or the virus spreads. It's going down this highway, or it's at this port, or it's at this airport. You begin to see where all of this comes in and how it maps. That is what technology is designed to do right and to do correct. And so when you see my body posting, and I'm posting my body of work to you and showing you, that's a good use of technology and what technology can do, that I don't think you as a user would say, I don't want that. I think you would want, just like we had to get an Amber Alert on your phone, and you now know what that Amber Alert or that weather report is. Wouldn't you like to have your phone buzz you the very moment something that was that deadly hit our shores? And wouldn't you like everybody to know where it is, where it's headed, so they exactly know how to shut it down? That's the power of technology used the right way. Now, let me tell you why it's totally safe and fine for you. If my system and its iteration of how it's used, combined with all the other resources and stuff, would have reached out and pinged your phone and a text came up, then you have that damn thing called free will, don't you? And this is where mankind comes in. The text shows up, and let's say it's totally valid, totally trained, you know what it is. That doesn't mean you react to it, doesn't mean you do anything. You might say, to hell with that, and not do anything. That part of mankind cannot be controlled. But in an electronic environment, if we knew you were exposed, right? Even if you didn't respond, we know where to start looking for new infections, so you can always try to get ahead of it. That is what technology will do. Now, you have to understand the federal government has issued contracts for hundreds of millions of dollars. And the government's current way of doing this is to hire investigators, physical people, to go over. Bill Kelly, I'm just going to use your name for a second. So Bill, let's say Bill had it. They would go knock on Bill's door. Okay, and they're in their hazmat suits and go, okay, we heard you had it. Bill, tell me where you went. You went to the store, you went here, you talked to Aunt Ethel, Cousin Bobby, or whatever. And everything that Bill did, and then that investigator gets into a car, goes to another person's house and talks to another person. Says, okay, where'd you go? That's what contract tracing is. Even today, that our government has issued hundreds of millions of dollars of individual contracts for, and it does not really stop anything. And so this is the power of technology when technology is used right. When technology is used wrong, they'll pilfer. Right now you can buy a mailing list of everybody who lives in the United States. Companies buy the mailing list, and then they buy your phone number and they buy your address. And there's companies set up that do this today, all the way down to your gas cards, your shopper credits, or anything. And all they do is start complying these together, right? And they just start hooking them together, email list, cable list, whatever. And they just start building a mile high connected list of everything. And they start cross relating these. The reality is you're on that list, whether you like it or not. So now what can you do? Right? So let's look at some of the things that even to me trouble me. But let's look at some of the things that are going on out there that you should probably know about. First off, did you know there are several apps that can open the socket on your microphone? And you've had these, Alexa's listening all the time. Whether you like it or not, you may not speak the trigger word. They say, just like you say, hey, Google, and Google will pop up and go, what? Right? And, you might not say the word, but it's always listening. Again, this can be good and bad, but to always listen means it has to have some short-term storage of the conversation. That means it's got to come in and hit the process and come out. So it's always got some sort of loop in it. It can be rather creepy. You have kids app on these things, but the microphone is probably the single biggest socket on your mobile devices right now that pose the biggest threat. Here's the interesting thing. There are 1,000 games that are put out by a company called Alfonso, and they have about 250 apps running software that are downloadable on Google Play, and they're popular smartphone apps like Pool 3D, Beer Pong, Trick Shot, Real Bowling, Strike, 10-Pin, Honey Quest, although I recommend you play Honey Quest, and a lot of kids use these things. And basically, it's constantly listening. Now, did you know that you can revoke access? You need to look at your phone and you need to do a few things. If you look at your power savings manager in your app, you actually get a first look. If you look at conserve battery power, it will tell you every app that's running on your phone. And the first thing you'll find out is there are all kinds of apps running, sucking up your power on your phone that you haven't even gone into the app or clicked into the app. You have to literally look at every single app on your phone. Your TVs now do the same thing. Your TVs now absolutely do the same thing. And so you go into your settings and you look at power or power conservation. And it'll give you a profile. And you will actually see all of the apps that your phone is using. And you will be surprised to find that a tremendous amount of your apps are running. Now, if they're running and sucking up battery power, if they show up in that consumption phase, that means they're active and doing something. And that's the first way to see the apps that are taking control of your phone. And one of the number one things, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, etc. Now, pros and cons. and con. Number one, if you have your phone ping you, ding, 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 I got a reply, I got a like to my Facebook, or I got a reply on my Facebook. That is the very first way to know that you have granted all permissions on your phone to your app, because it's notifying. It is in those notification features that you leave the socket open. So let me ask you a question. Do you do like I do? You look at your phone and your email even when it doesn't ding? Probably. So doesn't that mean you don't need notification because you are now habituated to it? You look at your phone automatically. You see if something's gone on. You want to shut some of these holes? Go into your phone and turn off all notifications. You're right, Danny Holland's right again. You know that little app that makes your LED, your little flash, become a flashlight? That's one of the most notorious hacks in phones because it opens up the sockets. So yes, Teresa, turn off notifications. The very thing you can do is turn off notifications. Now, one of the things I do when I get my mobile phone, and you replace your mobile phone or whatever the case may be, you go in and uninstall every single app they've put on it that you do not use. Uninstall them all. Photo editors, calendars, everything. You can shut those off. The second thing you can do is look at your Google settings. When you use your phone to cross-navigate with the car and sync things in or whatever, those permission sets basically allow them to look at everything you can do, every around place you go, every shop, every whatever. That's how they get the information, is turn off your notifications and then go into your apps and put no history, right? No collection, no sharing for data. You know, when you click, it says, if there's any problems with the software, we can make it help you do better. Just let us see the reports. No, those are all reports that actually get into your data. So you want to only have basic permissions on. Like it's obvious for Instagram, you're posting photos. You're going to post a photo, but it doesn't have to have access to your microphone. A lot of these you can go in and individually set. And if you will just go in and look at each app, go into your phone, look at apps, click on it, look at everything it's requesting. And you can go in and manually uncheck these. Some of them are very devious, meaning you can uncheck them and they don't have a save button the first time. They'll let you back out of it. It resets them all. You only see the save button to save it the second time you request. This is just what has to happen if you want to be safe with your phone and your data. Teresa Incognito is there, and it's one of the features you can do, but probably the best thing you can do in your home is, even in incognito mode, it's got some of these other ones on. The best thing you can do at home is use a VPN, which is a very private network, and all the stuff that shuts off and gives it different names and numbers can be done. But you have to go in and actively neuter these things if you don't want to be subjected to them. And everything does it. There is no such thing as any app that does not share. I'm going to go back and share my screen one more time because I just want you to see this, because until you understand how deep this is, you really don't understand what you're giving up. And so when you give it even to one company, right? even when you just give this stuff to one company, one random company. This is all the network sharing, okay? So let's look at this one little stupid free app. This is called the Battery Doctor. All it is an app that says, oh, save your battery, because your power gets chewed up so quick, right? But in order to save your power, how does it make sense that they install 12 other subversive apps with it? Google syndication, right? Can you see the bottom of my screen? I'm going to see if I can pump my screen up. Okay. Can you read that on my screen? Read the words. Google syndication. It's a tracking service that 8% of all the apps out there are running. 8%. And so when you download this little BS battery saver, okay, you are actually giving permissions to all of these. And then this one has 12. You go over here to Google, it's got 1, so now you're at 13. Okay, you go to Facebook, Facebook's got another 12 in it, right? It keeps on going, it keeps on going, it keeps on growing. And pretty soon, basically what you have, okay, is you literally have massive trackers embedded within massive trackers on your phone, embedded in massive trackers, because all of this is a big value trade economy. Now, I don't want to warn you off to using apps, but when you download a financial app, right, like this one right here, hang on, let me find it. Come on. Oh, it's not letting me have it here. Dang it. Okay. Here's one. Mike Pence is the video devil. Anyway, it stopped working. My visualizer start working. There you go. So, okay. Now, I got to get a new one. Damn it. They must be know I'm exposing all the geeky stuff. I'm exposing the vampire culture underneath, and they're like cutting me off. Right? Here's a travel planner and guide. But when you give a travel planner and guide, are they actually telling you, well, here's everybody else we're giving it to? How do you think the travel you looked at shows up on Facebook, or Facebook tells the travel guys, hey, these guys are interested in travel? Let's look at your Microsoft OneDrive. That's automatically on your computers. It's automatically installed on a lot of them. Microsoft Health, all of these have these things in it. You think, hey, so you're going to go use, I'm going to go use this secure browser. How are you using a secure browser to keep yourself secret when it's sharing it with mobile companies, app companies, ad companies, Chinese companies, and Facebook? That is the universe of data. So and what prompted me is when I looked at some of the comments, and people really got violent, said, "Fuck no, and I said, Farouk, no, I'm not going to put that on my phone. I'm not going to do that." I want you to understand, you've already done it. It is up to you to do it. Interesting question. Cauliflower says, how would you bypass HIPAA laws? HIPAA law says you must protect the identity of everyone. Remember when I said it can notify his phone that you may have come in contact, may come in contact with somebody who was COVID positive that you might consider testing? No personal information swapped there, period. And so that's how all these things work. There's rules to make them work where you don't really get people's information. And so, moral of the story is there are incredibly powerful ways that technology can help everybody. There are good things that come from it. when your GPS says, don't go that way, there's a major accident, go this way and save yourself 30 minutes. That is powerful information. In the health of epidemic tracking and pandemic tracking, very powerful information. However, you, the consumer, must take proactive steps to educate yourself on what it takes to neuter data, to neuter the options that are automatically set in your phone. So if you have apps on your phone that you don't use, uninstall them. If you have programs on your mobile phone that you've never used, uninstall them. If you have apps that you stopped using, even though you said, well, I just don't even use it anymore. If it's on your phone, it's still there, it's still doing its thing. Don't use them. And then for all the apps you use on your desktop, on your phone, on everything else, if you don't want to be part of that, if you don't want to look for the cruise on your phone and then get home and pull up your desktop and see other options too, and it knows it all, you have to turn off syncing, and you have to turn off notifications, and you have to go in and clip these one at a time, and then you're going to have the discipline to re-expect them every few months. Outside of that, it's technically over if you use the internet, if you have an electric bill, if you have a cable bill, if you have a mortgage, if you have loans of any kind, credit cards of any kind, and you use the internet. You're already in the system. There is no way to be outside of the system unless you have no devices, and unless you have no bills, no payments, no subscriptions. You know, you got to have a house that doesn't have a cable coming into it, a power line coming into it, a phone line coming into it, all the stuff that goes with it. But we now live in a digital society where everything's connected. I hope I've given you a little peek behind it. But the only reason I did this is you shouldn't associate, when it comes to disease tracking or pandemic tracking, that it actually is pulling information from your phone in the wrong way, because it's just a bunch of numbers and proximities that'll last in a moment of time, suspended time, so it's not really storing it. But you also do have to understand that it goes on, it's there, right? I, unfortunately, one day, a kid ahead of me went around the corner, not paying attention, doing his text, and he was coming this way, I'm coming this way, and there's a motorcycle that had passed me while on the road. And when I come around the corner, he had plowed head on into the motorcyclist and killed him. I think some of y'all followed me back then. It's been several years now, and I, got out and covered up the motorcyclist, and the kids in the floorboard wigged out, crying like a baby. He knew he'd killed the guy. And we're trying to get stuff off the road, and I stood there at a wall directing traffic and stuff, enough to see the team show up, and the first thing they did was grab his mobile phone. They asked him what he was doing. He said he didn't know. It didn't matter. Just one look at the mobile phone and the timing and everything else that was coordinated with the car, because even your car has a sensor in it that shows exactly the moment of impact, right? There is a sensor in there, whether you like it or not, unless you're driving a very old car, and it all gets synced up. I've often wondered what was going to happen to that 20-year-old kid. Had a child seat in the car with him. Luckily, there was no child, but him being on his bullshit phone killed somebody. And it was vehicular homicide, period, manslaughter, bang, changed his life forever. And there's no way you can escape it. It's there in front of it. And so, again, in instances like that, yeah, technology comes into play and should come into play. Philip thinks he has a recommendation. Philip says, put it all in your dead wife's name. So there it is, folks. That's the data world we live in, right? And that's the Danny says Facebook has recently given access to the deep, dark recesses of your account data collection options. They also assume and mark your political affiliation from likes and dislikes. I have a love-hate relationship with this Facebook thing, right? I deal with it all the time. I struggle. I do struggle, guys. I struggle with, should I have any social media? Do I even want to have social media? And I'm in this technology game, and I just, it even befuddles me. You're right, it's very scary and we need to know, but it's done. If anything, being a social media user magnifies it. Bill Kelly's right, don't post what you're not proud of. Jim says, we're talking about apps. I need help getting one developed and published. Anybody, Jim, DM me. I'll turn you on to a development team that can help you. You're right, it's done. And your, even Rocky says, right, you have to understand what it is and you have to make a decision. Jill, I'm like you. My love of people outweighs my loathing of a man, right? I hate what can be done with it, but I love being able to talk to everybody and us connect and us share. I love all of the information at our fingertips, but yes, we have to understand the risk and reward that comes with it. Charles Ziegler says, I guess I should take down my porn. No, Charles, I think you look really good in that gold lame fluorescent thong if you were asking me, but I don't think you were asking me. You have to just understand. And yes, in today's world, when they're now going back to crap you did in elementary school to decide if you can even be a president or a senator or anything else, it's only going to get worse, especially in a cancel culture. You live in this cancel culture. It is now wrong to say all lives matter, and that just puzzles me. You know, you saw a broadcaster get fired the other day for saying all lives matter because he specifically didn't say Black lives matter. And it's, words are really taking on different meanings and photos and speech and even the tone and way you say them or whatever are getting very, very complicated. And so you want to try to understand the cause and effect. John, you're right. I think many times, my friend, when I look at political posts, I think, man, I shouldn't comment on those. And so the best part of it is, yes, this is the greatest learning platform in the world, right? But don't post your personal information out there. Y'all know many of me, right? That, you know, even just being on a television show with people not agreeing with what my summations were, through social media, saw my contacts to my family, my relatives, my children, through their social media, tracked them down and threatened family and children. So you got to understand everything that comes with this, that's the price we pay now in a connected culture. So I just want you to think very hard about it. Technology is not evil. Man can be evil. Technology is not evil. And here's how I'll put it to you in closing to understand it. A long time ago, when computers had amber and green screens, and we had to know the code, right? And if you didn't know the C colon enter, backslash, and the right commands, the computer did nothing. It could always do everything, but that computer would do nothing unless you knew the code. Now then, all of a sudden, GUI, graphical user interface, pops up, And instead of having to write the command to make the computer open email client or do emails or BBSs or whatever, you could just click on the icon and it would make it happen. And it's because the programming's hidden under the icon. And so when you click, it sends the command, it opens it up. You didn't have to know it. Now, today, it's all still the same dumb computer. You must realize that. These computers will do nothing that either you don't ask them, tell them, or give them permission to do. And that's where humans still have the control. You must do what it takes to learn about computers, computing, apps, and everything that you're using. And you must set your permissions in a way accordingly that you make sure that you're not putting things out there you don't want out there, especially in a society that's watching every word we say, everything we post, and is putting us into nice little convenient groups based on our thoughts, our actions, our likes, and our dislikes. Anyway, I'll still be a proponent of technology, always will. I love the technology world. But a huge responsibility comes with it. And that responsibility is to you to understand. So thank you guys for joining me. I hope at least this has helped. Yes, when you turn off your notifications, it's really interesting how you get a little relief. So at the worst case, turn off your notifications. You're not always jumping and you got to get to it. If you can get away from jumping, right? If you can get away from just jumping for the technology when it pings, you know what will happen? You'll actually get a little bit of rest in your life. And if anything, all of us need right now is a little bit of rest, a little bit of relaxation. Certainly don't watch the news. Just take it easy. So if you learned anything, turn off your notifications. Anyway, folks, love you, right? Love you. Have a great evening. Y'all take care, and we'll talk again real soon. Take care. Bye-bye.